what's up guys, Just Ash here, and welcome to the very first episode of Spooky Week. Today, I'm going to be talking about my top 10 creepypasta. Now, I know creepypasta probably still aren't relevant, and I'm the only person on the internet that still reads them and enjoys them, but I don't care. So, let's get on with this list. Number 10 is Lavender Town Syndrome. Now, I am a total sucker for video game creepypastas, and this one I kind of like because it's got a certain level of believability to it. Basically, what it is way back when Pokemon Red and Green first came out in Japan, there was a spike in child illnesses and suicides after they reached Lavender Town, and apparently it is because the Lavender Town theme had high frequencies that only young people's ears could hear, and it kind of drove them mad, which I don't want to say I enjoy these creepypastas because they do deal with some really horrible stuff, but it's that level of believability and the fact that it could be real. It's not. It's absolute BS, obviously. It's a creepypasta. But, you know, it could be real, so that's why I like that one. Next up is Ben Drowned. Yes, it's another video game one. I literally just told you guys that I am an absolute sucker for them, so please bear with me while I get through this one as well. What Ben Drowned is about a man who is a college student. He goes to a garage sale, gets what he believed is a hacked version of Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, but he ends up being haunted through his computer by the ghost of the previous owner, who is Ben, who drowned in a horrible pool accident. I think it's kind of implied. There's not really a lot stated explicitly here. Now, what I like about this one is that it came around the time when, people were still a bit scared of computers. Like, they did things that you weren't fully expecting, and there were lots of glitches and stuff like that. But what I also like about this one is the supernatural element and the fact that it's left kind of ambiguous at the end as to what actually happens. And this one is long for a creepypasta, so if you do go and read it, you do have to slog through quite a lot. But it's satisfying, and it's definitely an entertaining read, so go and read Ben Drowned, which is another sort of creepypasta that really appeals to me for no real reason other than the fact I think they're so funny because there's no way they could possibly be real. What Squidwards Suicide is it is a lost episode of SpongeBob SquarePants that an intern working at Nickelodeon happened to see, and it happened to be referring to Squidward committing suicide. That's it. It's obviously total rubbish. This doesn't exist at all. But what it did do is, along with Sonic.exe, it spawned the hyper-realistic art style meme that happened in creepypasta around the same time this came out, because it is one of the first pastas that ever described eyes being drawn in a hyper-realistic style. And then that just went through every single creepypasta I read between like 2005 and 2010. Everything was hyper-realistic. It was brilliant. Sticking with Nickelodeon-based pastas, we've got Crybaby Lane at number 7. It's about another intern, I think they're an intern anyway, who was working on the production of Crybaby Lane, and they are documenting their strange encounters with the rather eccentric director of the movie. Now, I am not going to talk about what happened during this pasta on YouTube, because it is a little bit too horrific. If you do go and read this Crybaby Lane pasta and haven't read it already, please just bear that in mind. But what I like about this one is that they try to have a twist ending, where some of the ideas that were too horrific for the movie get turned into other Nickelodeon shows. Like, there's one with Danny Phantom where it's basically a guy goes around hoovering up people's souls, and that got turned into Danny Phantom. Again, utter rubbish, but completely entertaining. 6th place goes to Anora Petrova, the story of a figure skater who found her own Wikipedia page, but it seemed to be able to tell the future. Basically, it was telling her that she was going to win her competition the next day, and she did. So, this then escalates to her trying to change her own Wikipedia page to ensure she wins the competition she's not slated to win, and it all kind of goes downhill from there. Another thing that I really like about this pasta is, again, the ambiguity of the ending. Basically, the Wikipedia page predicts her death, and this is all set up as an email that she has sent to one of her competitors before she dies. But we never find out if she actually dies or not. So that's that. We're halfway through and the rake creeps in at number 5. I really like this, again because of the ambiguity, but also because of the way that it is presented. The rake stories are presented as a collection of journals and letters, a bit like the original Dracula, if you've ever read that. And it's, again, very ambiguous as to what happens. It's heavily implied that none of the stories end particularly well, because obviously it's a creepypasta, but I first read The Rake when I was, I want to say like 9 or 10. I was quite young, too young to be reading creepypasta. And I genuinely had a fear of The Rake for about 3 weeks before I worked out that it was in fact utter rubbish. So, number 4 is Psychosis, and this one's actually a new pasta to me as I hadn't read it until I was doing my research for this video. What it's about is it is about one man being driven crazy by his lack of human contact, and I really love the fact that the story is very insular. He's the only human character in it, and it's all set in his apartment building on a rainy day. It's very claustrophobic feeling. You very much understand why he is driven crazy. Unfortunately, it does go for the typical creepypasta twist ending, which kind of lets it down, to be honest with you. If they just cut the ending, this probably would have been number 1 on the list. Third is the Russian sleep experiment, and this is another one that starts out almost believable. It's not 100% there, but it's almost there. It's about a group of Russian soldiers during World War II performing an experiment with a gas-based stimulant trying to keep some prisoners of war awake. Now, this is where it starts to go off the rails a little bit and completely drops out of all believability and just turns into a total gore fest, because what happens is these guys end up mutilating themselves and one another to the point where it is unbelievable that they are still alive. And as I have mentioned before on this channel, I don't want to say enjoy because that just makes me sound so creepy. I can appreciate a good gory movie or a good gory story. So that's why Russian Sleep Experiment is here. And apparently they're turning it into a movie. I really hope they do, because I think it will be a good sort of story to explore in a visual medium. Oh my god, I sound like such a serial killer. So, this list's runner-up is Cove. This is another one that is presented in a way that isn't just a narrative. It is presented as a forum chat between 3 people who are reminiscing about a TV program they used to watch when they were kids. And I am so glad that this isn't real, because this TV program sounds so creepy. It's all about pirates who are puppets, and the way they describe the low budgetness of it is just so creepy. There's one puppet whose mouth doesn't move, it just grinds, and it's implied quite heavily that he eats children's skin. And there is one episode that is described where the characters simply stare into the camera and scream for the whole half an hour. Cove also has a very good twist ending for a creepypasta. It's a little bit predictable if you've read enough creepypasta or enough like anything on No Sleep, but it's still good. It was good at the time. It was one of the first ones to do something like that. And it has also been made into a TV program because it was the focus of Sci-Fi's Channel Zero for the first season, which I need to see because I haven't seen it yet. So please let me know in the comments if that is worth watching at all, or if I'm going to be horrifically disappointed. Now, this one may seem like a bit of a cheat because it's not one pasta in the top spot, it is a group of creepypasta in the top spot, and it's the SCP Foundation. I adore these creepypastas. What they are is they're all about different artifacts and people and places that are all under the containment of the SCP Foundation. Basically, the way the pastas are written are as their containment logs. So what sort of special procedures need to be followed in order to contain these dangerous artifacts. And there is such a wide variety, and so many of them interlink, and there is so much lore around this group of pastas. It's got its own Wikipedia page. I'm going to link it in the description because it's fantastic, and I genuinely think you should all just give it a try. Pick a random one. They are all good, I promise you. And that is why the SCP Foundation as a whole has taken the top spot. Because if I was to try and separate them out, they would need their own list, basically, is what I'm saying. I really love them. They are some of my favourite creepypastas. And that is it, basically. I could rant for literally hours about the SCP Foundation and how cool some of the stories are. But that's the end of this. And yeah, that is the start of Spooky Week with my top 10 creepypastas. Please leave your top 10 creepypastas in the comments below. If you don't have top 10 creepypastas because creepypasta isn't relevant anymore and no one really knows what I'm talking about because you're all about 12 years old, then don't worry about it. But I like creepypasta, so I don't care. And as always, remember to pour yourself a nice cup of werewolf bloods and join me tomorrow at 8 for the next Spooky Week video.